Hello, I'm the Gaming Spectre 71, and I decided to make a video of Limbo. Essentially, I wasn't exactly planning to make a video for Limbo, but I was basically playing around with him, simply trying to level him up, and I discovered something that kind of made me interested into it. So right now, the setup is basically I'm using Limbo. I had him polarized, both him and the Zenistar. I'm using Limbo and the Zenistar, and I had them polarized, both of them, for the sole purpose of leveling them up, obviously, to make them stronger. This is, I believe, it's either the for the Zenistar, it's the first time I polarize it. For Limbo, it's either the first time or the second time that I polarize him. And all I am doing is basically gaining experience to basically level them up. When I first started the game, my Limbo was basically rank, say, I guess about rank 3, because I did a match beforehand to basically get some levels up before I tried this mission on. So my Limbo was about rank 3. My Zenistar was rank 1, and I decided to go into this game and maybe benefit from some other players and gain some experience. So essentially, in this match, I'm joined by an Ember Prime, and I'm also joined by 2 Chromas. So the game already has 2 tanks and one, one of the best damage dealers, I guess, if you would call it that. And I essentially decided to take the back seat in the game. All I was doing was basically phasing through the rift and just being close to my allies and just letting them take all the kills. And through killing everything, I gained the experience simply by just by being close through the shared affinity, the 10 affinity. So as long as I'm nearby, as long as I'm near other people, all I have to do is go into the rift. They'll kill people. We were joined by an Ember Prime, so I assume, why would an Ember Prime join a survival if he didn't want to go around doing kills? I don't know if he was trying to level up something, but yeah, it would be weird. So I decided to, I'll get some benefit from that, and I'll use it to my own advantage to level up. And I was all I was doing was going into the rift and just sitting there, just looking around. And at some times, since I was using the Zenistar, I decided to experiment with it to see if I can use it, if it can benefit from using Limbo. So I end up experimenting to use it by throwing the disc to see if it'll deal damage to enemies while it's in the rift, and also if it only has to deal damage outside the rift. It turns out if you're in the rift and you throw the Zenistar disc, it cannot deal damage to enemies. So you literally have to pop out of the rift to use the Zenistar to have it deal damage. And you'll see that I'm doing that exact thing right now. I'm basically experimenting. I basically deployed the disc while in the rift to see if it'll deal damage, and it turns out it doesn't deal any damage. I have to be in the same plane of existence with the enemies. Or what I could do is use the Zenistar while in the rift, have it there, basically deployed there, then basically like horde the enemies or guide them towards the Zenistar, then use either my Cataclysm or use the Banish to banish them while I'm outside. And as they're going in there, they'll basically probably take damage, considering they'll be in the same plane as the Zenistar. So that's another thing that I didn't think of noticing, that I didn't thought of. In this game, what I was basically doing, I was kind of like a peekaboo strategy. I was fading out of the rift, throwing my Zenistar, fading out, while most of the time just sitting by and letting my allies do all the kills. Now, it's important to notice that what I was originally planning to do was basically do nothing. I just wanted to level up my Limbo, and since most players like the idea of doing the most kills and the most damage, I decided to benefit from that by simply just being in the rift and letting my allies do the kills, with the sole purpose of supporting them by reviving them if they get downed. Due to the fact that I'm in the rift, I'm invulnerable, nothing can kill me, I can revive instantly. Interestingly enough, I can revive my allies even while in the rift, so essentially I am an invincible revival character, essentially, by default. So for as long as they wanted to play, all I had to do is basically stay in radius of their kills, so I can benefit from their experience, from the experience gain from the 10 affinity. and all I had to do is fade out of existence, use the Zenistar if I wanted to, you know, destroy an enemy, a group of enemies, um, just to deal some damage. And yeah, if anybody gets downed, I would go into the rift and use my dash ability to instantly go to them and revive them. And this actually worked pretty well. We don't do a survivor for really long, and this video is completely unedited. It'll basically be exactly as I saved it. Um, so essentially, I mean, all I did was, well, like I said, I was basically going here to basically level up. My only interest in the game was to level up my Limbo. Yeah, I discovered this little thing that you could do, which is basically use weapons in this plane, then fade into the other plane, into the rift, to not take any damage, and it actually works pretty well. And so I also thought of maybe doing that with a grenade launcher, like the taunt core, and then give it like a sticky grenade type of the sticky grenade functionality, which basically what it does, it'll basically the grenade will stick to a surface, and that gives it kind of like a timer before it explodes when it sticks to surfaces. So if I could basically make a grenade launcher, I don't own a grenade launcher at the moment of this video, so I might try that afterwards. But if you can actually use a grenade launcher that takes time to explode, then simply use it, stick it to the surface while outside the rift, and fade into the rift again before it explodes, then you can probably deal damage to enemies while being into the rift. You literally don't have to use his abilities at all. What I was actually aiming for when I chose to forma my Limbo, the reason why I did that is because I decided I wanted to try a build out which utilizes stasis and yeah, and Cataclysm. So essentially, I would use Cataclysm with a long stretch and as much duration as I can get for stasis. Use the catalyst, make everyone go into the rift, then use stasis to make them invulnerable and simply melee them to death. Bullets do stop, but melees can still kill enemies while in the rift. So I guess I just wanted to give that a go. And I know people do it all the time, but I just wanted to do that as an actual build and not just a thing that can be a thing. Yeah, I wanted to give that a go, and I was basically polarizing I polarized, started leveling up for the sole purpose to do that build. And while I was doing that build, I discovered another fun little build, or way, I guess, battle way, or I guess whatever you would call it, which is, yeah, I guess I named this the Riftwalker build for the sole purpose that it kind of revolves pretty much on using the rift, basically. Limbo's ability to walk through the rift. And that's all it does, basically. And a weapon that deals damage continuously while you know, on the ground. That way you can deploy it somehow, have it deal damage while you go into the rift, and then yeah, and basically not take any damage. And for the most part, it actually works, and it actually works pretty well. Now, I'm not going to be talking for the whole video. I just wanted to share this small information as to how I decided to build him. Yeah, it actually works out pretty well. At the end of the match, I was surprised to find out that, yeah, well, it's actually very effective, and it's very interestingly effective. And yeah, I only got downed because I was basically just messing about trying to find out even more new ways to use the Zenistar. But overall, it went out pretty well, and I was able to support my teammates by reviving them for as long as they needed, while still being able to deal a lot of damage to enemies. And that actually worked pretty well. I'm actually surprised, and I kind of like it. So yeah, if you want to give this build a go, you want to test the Limbo Riftwalker, I guess I'll call him. I don't know if there's someone who already has a name like that. It's just the name that I just came up with, and yeah, I'll love to see people just use this build and experiment with it to see what it can actually offer. Could also make a fun little challenge thingy to basically go into high-level enemies and then fade out of existence with the Zenistar. Take a chance, because you are taking a chance every time you fade out to use the Zenistar. You're invulnerable for as long as you're basically vulnerable for as long as you're outside the rift, and you can get down very easily because Limbo doesn't have that much health or shield. So somebody could make a game out of it by having Limbo unmodded for health, just for his, and just basically use his rift walking, And yeah, you basically have a Zenistar then deployed. To find, it'll be like a strategy where you're basically trying to find the right moment to use the Zenistar outside the rift, while not trying to get downed, and then go back into the rift so you can just let it do its work. And I think it'll be a fun little game. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be trying to see more about this build. I'm gonna try to polish it, I guess. Maybe not with the Zenistar. Like I said, I wanted to try it out with like a grenade launcher, like the Tonkor. So, which means I'll probably have to make the Tonkor for the third time. I'm not a big fan of grenade launchers because of the amount of damage that they deal to you. But with this particular build, yeah, it'll actually I might actually give it a go. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how well this build can actually work. It actually makes it very fun, and I'm not using any abilities, so nobody should actually complain about Limbo's abilities since I'm not really using them. I'm just using my melee and just fading in and out of the rift. Plus, I'm reviving them, so I'm actually being a team player. You can be a team player by reviving your allies for as long as you need to. It doesn't bother you because you're in the rift and you're invulnerable, so why not? A build that actually allows you to deal tons of damage, be completely invulnerable from other damages, not give a shit about anything, just stay there and not care about the world, and also revive your teammates, being a team player, which I think is a bonus that nobody tries to consider when they're making a build. So yeah, this actually works. I'll leave the rest of the video like this, to enjoy. I decided not to cut it because I wanted to show how I experimented, how the my method was actually building up to actually being very, very useful, and how I discovered it to begin with. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was useful to you. I hope you want to give Limbo a go and decide to use this build to test it out, because it actually has an enormous potential. And I'd like to thank you for watching. Stay cool, and I'll see you later. Bye!
Support incoming.